Well, good morning and welcome to Mrs. Bell's Sweet Treats and More. This is my YouTube channel. Today is Monday. This is Monday Moments, and welcome to Monday Moments today with a sweet treat. I welcome those of you who are new subscribers, and I thank those that have been with me for a while. I've been baking and cooking and sometimes playing with my grandchildren. I desperately miss them so much. Today I'm going to be doing a sweet treat. It's one I've done in the past, but I've updated the recipe for those of you who made it in the past or haven't. This is it's an orange brownie. I call it an orangey, and it's really good. It's made with fresh oranges, and if you have fresh oranges, and of course, if you cannot find fresh oranges, you can substitute orange juice. So I'm going to begin. I already have my base here. And for this recipe, I'm adding pecans because my husband likes pecans. But for those who don't like nuts or don't want nuts, you absolutely can leave it out. I'm using all-purpose unbleached flour. Of course, you use the flour. If you have bleached, not an issue. I'm using the brand of sugar that I found on sale. I have vanilla as well as orange extract. I found orange extract on sale. If you cannot find it or it's pricey, you can eliminate it, because if you have the zest of the oranges, that will really work it. Or if you have lemon flavoring, mix it half and half with the vanilla. Of course, you'll see it in the link. I'm going to begin. I'm using a standalone. You can absolutely use a hand mixer. It's going to be a thick batter, so I don't know how you're going to be feeling about beating that with your hand, but you know, some people got it. You know, my mom was a beater. So I'm going to begin by sifting my flour with my salt, and you don't have to sift it, but and this technically is not a sifter, but I'm using this to get all the lumps out of my flour. So I leave that there, and then I have here my sugar. So what I'm going to start with, I've got my flour done, so I'm going to put this over here with my limited space. And leave all the goodies that I have to still add. It also helps to keep track of what I'm cooking. So I'm gonna cream together my butter and sugar, and I'm gonna do it for a while, probably about 4 or 5 minutes, because I want it to get really incorporated, but I wanna whip up that butter. And I want to say this, that I am using unsalted butter. If you have salted, you can use it. You may want to reduce the salt. Sometimes I cook with salted, sometimes I cook with unsalted. I like to, as I've gotten older, I like to reduce the amount of salt that goes in my family's diet. And I didn't realize, I don't know if you did, for many years, how much salt actually is going into our systems. So I'm going to beat this with my sugar, and then I'll be back. Well, I've turned my beater around so you can see my sugar and butter, nice and fluffy. So to this, I'm going to add my eggs and all my other good stuff. So I have 4 eggs. I'm going to add them one at a time and get them well mixed in, but not a long time. I just want them well blended. You don't want to see the yolk in there. 2 at that time. 2 is a good number too. Do a little straight here. When you have this turned around, you got to think backwards, you know? I don't want to see any yellow, dark yellow by itself. That means the egg is not incorporated. My favorite word, incorporated. I'm going to add my last egg. Put that aside. And I'm going to add, I'm not using all of the zest, but of course the recipe, you'll see the recipe for my vanillas. I have orange extract. Just a little squirt because I'm adding so much zest. And my favorite addition is always vanilla, but you can leave it out. It's strictly up to you. I'm just going to blend this together. I'm going to add my a little less than a tablespoon of zest. I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to add, oh my goodness, that orange. I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of my fresh squeezed orange juice, but I'm going to be a little adventurous. I'm going to add a little more. Save the rest for my frosting. I'm going to lift this up, scrape down to make sure it's well blended. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. One last spin. I am going to add my dry ingredients. Slowly. That's the plan. This smells so delicious. Reminds me of an orange grove, almost like an orange grove. I want all my flour in there. A little more of my orange. And then I'm going to add, you do not have to do this, my I'm going to add my pecans. Again, as I mentioned before, you don't have to add pecans or any nuts at all. It's up to you. And I am going to make sure that I scrape down because I don't want that flour. Sometimes it's so dry, it'll hang out on the sides. That's what it looks like. I want to make sure I get all that in. And I'm going to add about a half a cup of roughly chopped pecans. And I'm going to show you how I roughly chop pecans. I've seen people using knives, and that's wonderful. I've seen people doing it other ways. But what I do is, once I get the package open, I take a couple of the clean hands, a couple of them or just one of them. I put them between my fingers like that, and I twist them. And it can result, and I twist them again if they don't come as small as I want. But that's my way of roughly chopping, kind of in a hurry. And you can see they're not tiny, but they're not big. And I just stir that in there. This goes in a 9 by 13 pan. And as I've said in the past, you can use a 9 by 9, an 8 by 8. They're going to be thicker, so you have to adjust the cooking time. And I have some more of this over here. Going to stir it. And I already have a pan ready. Put some foil on the bottom so that I can get that, get it out the pan quickly. So that's what it looks like. And it's thick, so I have to be careful. Oh my goodness, it smells so orangey. That's where I got the name from. And what I do is just pat it down. It is thick and it is orange. If anyone is confused about what this is, one smell will tell them it is an orangey. So I'm going to take it and get all this goodness off of my spatula, my spatula. And I'm going to beat it, tap it a few times to make sure it's as flat as possible. But many times in the process of doing this, I don't get it all flat. And I'm going to pop this in the oven and we'll be back. Well, I'm back and I've taken my orangey out the oven. I want you to see it. It's still hot and it smells so orange. So I'm going to let that cool. And while it's cooling, I'm just going to add a little put together a little orangey topping. It's simple. You can add this or not. And of course the measurements are on the side, click on the bottom. I'm putting together some confectioner sugar. I'm adding to it some Zest from what we made earlier. And I'm going to put that, while the orangey is cooling, I'm gonna leave that in there with the confectioner sugar so I can pick up all that goodness. And then to that, and it already smells orange, I'm gonna add just enough of the orange. I had some orange juice for it to get blended because I'm not making a frosting, just a topping, a drizzle. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of my vanilla. And the spruce, you don't have to add any of the orange at all. And it's still a little thick, So I'm going to add just a little bit of milk just to get it loose enough to drizzle over the top. It smells so good. Of course, I'm partial. And I want you to take a look at what I got here. See, it's still a little thick. If I wasn't on camera, I'd go ahead and lick the beater. And of course, put it in the sink. I wouldn't put it back in. So I'm just getting down. I'm not making a lot of it, but I want you to see why. So this is the texture, but I want it to be a little bit thinner. So I'm going to add a little bit more milk. This one is an eyeballer. You can actually stir this together, but if it's too, the amounts depend on what you are doing. So I want mine a little more like a drizzle. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this and then let it sit for a little bit. And of course, with confectioner's sugar, a little liquid goes a long way. So if you find it too thin, you can always add it just a little bit, just sprinkle in a little more until you get the consistency that you want. I used to think everything was ruined if it was too wet, but it's not. And again, it depends on the consistency you want. So it smells wonderful. So this is about the texture because I'm not putting a lot of it on. I'm just drizzling it over the top. You can add as much or as little as you want. So I'm going to let that cool. The Blemony cool, the Orangey cool, and then we'll be back. Well, here we are, back with our Orangey and the consistency I wanted. So I'm going to just take my Orangey, and I'm not going to put it thickly on here. I'm just going to run it over with a fork. It smells so delicious. And no real pattern, but trying to make sure everybody gets some of this. And if you've ever tasted this frosting, you may not even, you may just eat it. If you like orange, you may just eat it on its own. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. And then I just use the back of my spoon and go back and forth a little bit. Just want to make sure it's kind of on every piece. I have to say this is one of my favorites to make because it's relatively simple. The eggs do the whipping of the butter and the eggs get it to move and rise. So it's not, it's nice and kind of fluffy. And since I don't have much frosting, I'm going to just use every bit I got on here. Well, topping. It's really not, more of a drizzle. Oh my goodness. And I've already put a little bit of a cut on here because I know about where I'm gonna slice it. I tend to like the corner pieces brownies or something like that, I tend to like the corner pieces because they often are chewy, you know. I'm about out of scraping this bowl. Of course, when I'm done, I can actually just dip pieces of it inside of that. So, and here's our orangey. You can see where I've already pre-cut. So I'm going to take it out here. And the foil really kind of helps to get that bottom free, you know. And you may be able to see the pecans trying to peek through. And I'm going to just add a little bit of orange. I think my husband will be well pleased. So here is our orangey, and that piece I'm eating. And here's what it looks like. And you can see how soft it is. Oh my goodness. Together we can do this. You have a good one, and I hope you get to make an orangey and enjoy it with your family and friends. And I'll see you next time.